In this tutorial, we'll be discussing about HTML tables, how we can easily draw a table in our HTML, include a table in our website through our HTML. Because of the magnitude of this lecture, of these topics, of the topics that we have in a HTML table, HTML table, we will section this table tutorial. We section it into 3 parts. In the first part, we'll be talking about the HTML table, drawing a table, spacing table size, pushing another column left or right, table height, spacing, and the text alignment in a table. In the second part, we'll be discussing image in a table, cell width, cell padding, cell spacing, table and the image, working with a graphic editing program. This working with a graphic editing program, it should be a lecture on its own. Yes, we are planning to have also a series or a channel where most of our subscribers will easily learn how to use their graphic editor softwares, how to design with graphic editors like CorelDRAW, Photoshop, and all those softwares. We will teach you. We will have it in a separate channel, and I know you will like it. It will be interesting. But for now, we will just introduce the graphics, because it is very, very important that as a designer you'll be cutting image and fixing it in your website. So you need to learn and understand how to use those graphics. Then in the third section, we will discuss the table background color, column span, row span, and nested table. This nested table is also important because that makes table complicated. This is just when someone is trying to design a complicated website, you need to make use of tables, like a website like all these betting websites use a complicated table to display their numbers and odds. So we will learn how to design a complicated table. Now let's start. We introduce what table. Table is just a way of displaying objects in our website in either a row or a column with a sizable position, and we can display text in a row or column. We can also display image or information in a row or column. When we are using table, if you are using table, there are ways a table can be hidden in your web, in your platform, maybe in your browsers, by using a border is equals to 0. Meanwhile, the code we use to identify or to design the tags we use for table they look like this. The table opening tag, the rows goes with the TR and TR close, while the column goes with TD. TH is for the header of the table. So to draw a table, first of all, we go to our designing platform where we have a code like this. So let me start writing this code. Let me start afresh from here. Let me remove this code so that you will see what we are doing in full. So we say that for us to design a table, we first of all present the table tag, opening table tag, which says table. With this, our browser will understand what we are trying to do. The interpreter in our browser will know that we are now that this syntax or this code that it is reading is for table. So whenever the interpreter come across this code, he knows that this is a table platform and it has to read it how it's supposed to be. So in this, we also have, after table, we also have TR, which is the row of our table, and we have the closing TR. So whatever we have here, whatever we have at this point is telling us that our table is in one row. When we include another opening TR and closing TR, that means we are going into the second row. You understand what we are saying when we save and refresh our browser. Now at this point, the point after TR, which is the row, we can include the columns, and like we say, columns come with a TD, opening TD and closing TD and closing TD. Sorry, we left. So TD comes like this. Our column can be up to 3 column or 4 column, depending on what we are looking for. We can also populate the second row. We can also populate the second row by giving it we can also populate the second row by adding our column. Now if we say, now what you understand in a table, for you to put information in a table, you place your information after the table, after TD. Any information that is added before the TD will not display in the table. All the information, this holds the information that we see in our table. For instance, let's say the first column will say James. In the second column we say is, James is. In the third In the third column we say A. James is A. In the fourth column we say a programmer. James is a programmer. Now we come to the second row. At the first column we say but he has but he has or but he is unfortunate guy. But he is unfortunate guy. Now when you save this thing and go to our browser, when you save and go to our browser, you see how our table is displayed. You say James is a programmer but is unfortunate guy. Now let's arrange this thing how it's supposed to be. There is a problem, and that problem comes here. We closed our TD. This is James close is closed a closed a programmer. James is a programmer. Then we close TR and open TR, then TD, we close TD, but he is unfortunate. But he is unfortunate. So when we save, we go to our, you see, sorry, we are having issue because we are mixing capital and small letter. That is why it is not giving us what we are. So, but he is unfortunate. So if you look at this information, no one can tell you that this information are in a table form. Why? Because there is no division, there is no borders that is demarcating them. This is because automatically when you design a table without adding a border on it, the table automatically take a zero border as its parameter. So For us to identify this as a table, we will say we will add into our tag. Table has a parameter of size, it has a parameter of color, it has a parameter of height and width. We can decide the width of our table. We can decide the height of our table. We can decide the border of our table. We can decide the color of our table. But for now, we will say let's decide the border of this table. We will say our table has a border of equals to let's say 1. Now you will see that we are now making, you see that our table has gotten, it's now showing that it is a table. But with what you can see now, you can see that the table is just giving us the automatic. We can increase this border so that you will understand perfectly what border looks like. The border can also go with color. You see, it is giving us the border, and we also have internal border in the cells, in the information we have inside, showing you these are the column and these are the rows. The information that was put in column are showing in a horizontal line, while the information that is in a row are showing in a vertical line. So in our TD is what gave us this horizontal information, while the TR gave us this vertical information. What we are saying is that this information that we have angle bracket TD James close angle bracket slash TD is what we have in the column of our table. And if you look at after this, the last closing tag of the row, we say that the column, the row has closed at this point, and we enter another row by using TR. The TR is opening of the next row, while we close it at the after we must have declared what we want to be in our column. I can also see in this James we have row 1. In the second we have column 1. We have column 1. This is, we have column 2, and in this we have column 3, column 3. and this will give us column 4. The same thing we will have here, column 1, column 2, column 3, column 5. We will have here first row column 1. Let it be first row column 1 and second row column 1, second row column 1. We have third row column, third row column 1, and also have fourth row column 4, fourth row column, fourth row column 4, fourth row column 4. So in this second line we will now have first, we will now have first, second row, this is first row, all is first row column, is first row, all of them is first row, not third, first row, first row, first row, first row, all is first row, while this is second row, second row column 2, third row column 3, second row column, second row column 2, this is column 1, column 1, column 2, column 3, second row column 3, and fourth row column, second row column 4. Now when we save and go to our browser, you will see that we have first row column 1, second row, first row column 2, first row column 3, first row column 4. We can also duplicate this thing for you to see, like to create another table here. We don't need to start writing this code again. We just copy this code and then do some changes. We can say this is a third row and third column, third row, third row, third row column 1, third row column 2, third row column 2, third row column 3, third row column 4. So when we save, column 4, when we save, you will see that we have our you can see that our rows are showing every article or every sentences we included inside. So this is what tables look like, and remember we are using only two. The border is, we have only included border. What we now go into is how to make this our table look like a proper table. So to do this, we will say we have table spacing, that is spacing the size of our table, and that should be the third. That should be the table spacing, the size, spacing the size of our table. Now, to implement this in our browser, we will say in our table spacing, we can use it to resize the width of our table, so that if user resize the browser, the table will also resize with the user's browser. And to do this, we use width and height to implement it. We can ask the table to stay in a position with the browser, like what you see now. Automatically the table has a size that it follows. Whenever it gets to that, it stops the browser too. But we can fix this table in a certain width or a certain height. We can also ask the table to scale with the browser. And to do this, we use in here where we have border, in the table tag, opening table tag, inside the tag we can say let the width of our table, we can say let the width of our table become width is equals to, we can say 200 or 400. We can say let our table width be 400 pixels. So at this point, you are telling the table that if the browser scale at a 400 pixels, the table should stop scaling with the browser. We can say also that the height is equals to, we can set our table to be a height of maybe 100 pixels. Remember the syntax that you need to add in this table. It's very, very important sometimes for some browsers to. Now when you see the size, the height has increased and the width of our table, let's see how the width is affected. The width is equals to, let's say, 1000, and save. 1000 pixels. You see how it sketched. Now at this point, if you are sketching your browser, you see that this table is not going with your browser as you are sketching it. You see what is happening? The table is not sketching with the browser because it's a fixed width and a fixed height. Even if you are closing the browser, the table stays there. It doesn't go with the browser. But we can instruct this table. That is the essence of adding width, adding pixels. If you want to position your character or position your document, to have your document fixed in a position, we use pixels to implement that. But what of in a situation whereby we want our table or we want our images to scale with our browser? We will discuss this thing more when we will be dealing with our CSS, because we will be building a full website that is mobile phone friendly. That is a site that scales with browsers, a site that are mobile browser friendly. We will be designing such a site when we will be dealing with our CSS. A responsive website will be designing such a site, and on that we'll be using percentage. So for instance, we want to maybe make our table to scale with our browser. What we do is that we include here the percentage 1000, or should be in 100%. When you are putting percentage, everything you want to do should be in 100%. So if you tell the table to be scaled in 100%, that means it must be the size of the browser. If you tell the width to be in 100%, the width to be in 100%, that means it's 100% of the browser. We can say let's reduce it to 50% or 30% of the browser. So when the browser scales up to 30%, we can leave the fixed height. If we want, we can leave the fixed height. But ordinarily we can also, because you can also scale, but leave the height without adding any, so the browser will decide what to do with it. So at this point, when we save our code and refresh our browser, you see that this percentage, so whenever we scale our width, it is in 30%. We can say 50%, so that, or 60%, so that you can understand fully what we are trying to do. You say 60%, you see it has moved. So when you are scaling, you see what is, as the browser is increasing, the width is increasing. That is the essence of, it's now different from the pixels we added before. You see the beauty of using percentage and the beauty, you see how all the information are moving with the browser. Now Having discussed that, we also discuss about pushing. We also discuss about pushing another column left or right. How do we achieve this? To push columns left or right, what we do or how we implement that is how implement pushing either our column left or right. We use a column. We can use alignment. We can use align to implement table align to we can use table align to implement it. But for now, we will discuss about the height of the table height spacing. Let's discuss the table height spacing before we discuss the alignment, text alignment in our table cells. To implement this table height spacing, we can specify the height of our table. We can specify the height of our table, which by using width and the height of the table. By using width and height of the table, and there will be a division between cells in the row and the column. We say if the table is 100 pixels and there are 2 columns, then remember, if we have a table that has 100, for instance, we have at this point, we say that the table width or the pixels, we say the table, let it be 400 or 700, 500. Let me use an even number. Use 600 pixels. If I use 600 pixels in my table, I see what I will have is this. So for me to make sure that this 600 pixels or my information does not escape, or my text does not escape this table, what I do is to make sure that my division of the division of my tables, when we talk about division, we are talking about all these divisions, the length of the cells, the length of the column and the row cells, maintain this width. Because if you calculate all these cells and they did not, this information that are in these cells, and they did not maintain the height of this cell, it means that this information will break out of our table. So we will always use a calculation to calculate. For instance, let's say we have 6 or 10, 15 pixels as our table width, you see what will happen. The table has in his the length, the height is 10 pixels. The height is 10 pixels. Let's see what the table will do. Did we save? Let's see what the table will do. Okay, the table stays, telling you, but this information can easily escape. Okay, what this thing does, is that at this point, whenever you scale or whenever you put information, for instance, let's look at this. Let me bring out a text that is higher than any of these cells so that you will see what the table will do. Whenever you put a text that is higher than the cell, a text that is higher than the cell, what this thing will do is that the cell, the table will scale. Let me add this information. So in our table, for instance, remember we have all this information here, and that is what, let me scale this thing to maybe that 500, 600, and this is 100. Now whenever we add more information here, for instance, if this information that we added exceed this 60 pixels, this table will be adjusted automatically to fit the size of the information you added. And that is the reason why you should first of all know the length of the text you want to add in each table and divide your width accordingly. See what we are trying to say. When we add this text, look at what will happen in this table. The information, you see what this table did. It first of all scale the bigger information just for it to fit in automatically, for it to fit, and it made this other part of the other cells of the table look ugly. Look at the cell has extended to this level. When we're talking about cell, we're talking about this inner part of the table, and that is where we added this. You see how the table extended. So what we use to add this thing is that we make sure that our division, if we have 600 pixels as a width, we will divide the first row, the first column, to be a 600, to be in a 600. The cells should be divided into 600 pixels. For instance, if this first cell, if the first cell, this table look awkward. The first row and the first column. This first row and the first column, first row and the second column. first row of the third column. What happened here? Something happened here. 1 2 3 2 1. Okay, something happened here. Something happened here. We had fourth of the first. Okay, so for us to make sure that our table maintain these pixels, what we do is that we divide each column. If the first column is 300, the second column, as long as it's 4 columns, we divide 600 by 4. Whatever it gives us, we will use it, and we will place each cell to be that division. Each cell will be, if it is 150, 150, 150, 150, we will place the first cell to be 150, second cell to be 150, third cell to be 150, until they get to this, so that our cell will not extend, it will not exceed the weight of our main table. Now we'll talk about text alignment in a table cell. To talk about this text alignment, we should know that by default, text inside the table will take a form. Text inside our table start from the left. Sorry for this thing. Text inside our table start from the left. This is what we are saying. Text inside our table by default start from the left. We can add either of them to be in, maybe all those texts inside our table to be aligned either center, left or right, by including a line in the TD tag. We can change the alignment of this our text to be, I can reduce this thing for you to understand what we are trying to do. At this point, let's just align the text, all these texts. You will see that all the text started from the left. You see, you look at this, you see that all these text started from the left. Meanwhile, we can align this text to be in the center or to start from the right by including text align in this our TD tags, table tags, that is a row table tags. What we mean is that we open the beginning of the TD and say align. We can align both top, we have V align, horizontal alignment, and V align, that is vertical alignment. So to implement this, let's say that our texts are aligned, text align is equals to center. It's equals to center. When we save, you see the effect that this text has moved to the center. You see what we mean? This text has moved to the center. The same thing could be done at the second. We can also align our text, all the text, to be where we want it to be. Locate your opening tag, TD opening tag. We can say let this one be right. So that is that. It's left for you to complete. It is an assignment for you to do, to complete, align all this, shorten these sentences and align all the text to the position you want it to be. Now we can also say let us have a V align. Our V align always take a parameter top, middle or bottom. What are we trying to see? At this point we can say also in our table row, which is TD, the TD will also apply it in our TD tag. Now at this point where we have align information, our text align right or left, we can also see that V align, that is vertical align, V align is equals to either top or bottom. We can say either top or bottom. Our V align can be top or bottom. So when we say that V align is equals to top and we save, you see that this information has moved a little bit upward. Can we increase the height of this thing to be 500 pixels? Sorry, I should reduce it to either 200 so that it will be more visible. So at 200 height, you see that this information is up because we said let the vertical align be top. We say the information, the text align is center and the vertical aligning is top. This one, the text align is right and is a default. At a default, the V align stays in center. We can say let the vertical align of this one to be bottom. Let's see what the information will do. At this point, this is our first information, our first text. The second text where we put align, we say V align is equals to bottom. We save and refresh you see that this information has come to the bottom. It's left for you to complete and do your practice. I'm giving you this as an exercise to shorten all this text here and position all the text inside these cells where you want it to be. that should be it in this section of this video. We are through with the first video in our table section, in our table tutorial. So in the next video we'll be talking about image in the table, cell width, cell padding, cell spacing, table image, and working with graphics. Thank you, and remember to subscribe in this video. It's very necessary that you subscribe, because this is not, we're not only discussing about HTML. We have a tutorial in PHP that will start very soon. We have a tutorial in JavaScript. We have a tutorial in jQuery. You need to subscribe in this video. Going to school is no more a barrier for you to be a web designer, or for you to be a coder, for you to be a programmer. You can learn it with your YouTube. You can learn it by just subscribing with your data, and watching a YouTube channel. So try to subscribe, and if what we are doing you like it, just click on like. Thank you.